you're in the market for a luxury SUV, and I mean SUV, you want something that's capable, that you can take off-road and that you don't have to worry about babying all the time. So what are your options? Well, there's the Land Rover Defender. That one has become very popular. It was redesigned a few years ago. And then on the upper end of this price spectrum, there's the Mercedes G-Class, but that is a truly expensive choice. So the other choice has always been the Lexus GX. It's truly a luxury SUV, but it's always been a little bit, well, old. I mean, the last time the GX was redesigned was for the 2010 model year. So imagine our delight when this debuted, the 2024 third gen, all new Lexus GX. The GX has been a fan favorite for a number of years, so we know you have comments and we want to see them in the comments section below. And of course, if you want to read about this or shop for Lexus GX models, you can do that at CarGurus.com. When it comes to the exterior styling, this new GX is a dramatic departure from the outgoing second generation car, which had a much more aggressively sloped front end. This is a lot more upright, a lot more in with the modern trends. Now there is still Lexus's spindle grille. It's a little less gaping than it was before. I do like these squared off wheel arches. I think it really adds to the blocky, rugged characteristic of the vehicle. And I like that every GX comes standard with running boards. Now, one of my favorite details here, the design elements, is the character line up here. It runs very flat, horizontal along the whole length of the car, really adds to that blocky motif. But then when you look at the window trim, the lower window trim, it runs in parallel to that character line right up until it gets to just ahead of the C-pillar. And it rises up. It's almost like a mesa lifting out of the desert. I think it is really stylish. I think the profile view of this car is arguably its best angle. But now let's look at the rear, because some people think that's where the GX shines. At the rear, the first thing you're going to notice is the horizontal tail light bar that spans the entire width of the rear of the GX. It's lifted pretty high up the center. That adds to the visibility, makes it a little more noticeable. If you're following a GX, you're certainly going to know it's a GX. And then we have Lexus spelled in the wide set letters. This is a very popular styling trend we see now, although I do kind of miss seeing the automaker's emblem. You know, Lexus isn't alone there. A lot of automakers do this, but I don't know, it just feels like be your brand. Bring back that emblem. We don't all have to go with the wide set letters. Let me know if you disagree. Down below, we do have a trailer hitch receiver. It's covered up by this big plastic wart looking thing down here. I don't love how this looks, but I guess I'm happy that it has a trailer hitch. It's a GX 550. They are all GX 550s, and they all have a lift up glass. Isn't that a lovely feature? It means you can get in there without having to open the whole gate. Also, it's great for getting a little airflow in there. Now, a big change for the 2024 model year. The previous generation always had a barn door rear tailgate that swung out. This one has a lift up tailgate. It's also a power tailgate. The first time it's been powered on any GX, because I guess you can't really have a powered swing out barn door. That'd be pretty weird. Anyways, let us know what you think about the GX and how it looks in the comments section below. I want to get in the car, look at the interior, and do some driving. Okay, sitting inside a Lexus GX, it's clear that the whole ethos behind this interior is luxury, sure, but luxury meets capability. So it's not overwhelmingly lavish. In fact, there's a lot of things in here that feel kind of simple. This almost like dinosaur skin, soft touch, rubbery plastic material up top, that's not gonna blow you away. It's not, you know, wrapped in this beautiful, like, cow's hide. Instead, it's something that is a little more rough wearing, a little more durable, a little more practical. On the door, we similarly have a softish touch, but rugged plastic material up top. We do have a very nice armrest. We've got this perforated leather piece here. This is also much more softer touch leather down lower on the door. We have a piece of metal trim, beautiful speaker covers. The steering wheel, very common Lexus wheel. Doesn't feel too, frankly, too special, but it is very comfortable. It's nicely ergonomically designed. The steering wheel controls are nicely laid out in hard clicky buttons. Sorry about that. Over here on the left, we actually do have a piece of hard plastic that feels like it's kind of stands out a little, is not quite up to the rest of the car's expectations. But one thing I can't criticize is how all of these pieces are fit together. Lexus is great at fit and finish, and even when the materials are a lot more practically driven, they still fit together. There's no squeaks. Everything is really well engineered. We also have physical buttons down here in the center console for things like the drive modes and the terrain select system, crawl control, your locking differentials, those pieces that you definitely want to be able to know that you've turned on or turned off. Those are physical controls. Standard PRNDL shifter. We have rotary knobs for the HVAC controls that are actually really cool. They turn, and as you turn them, you can see the temperature rise and fall on this little LCD screen in the middle. You have a tiny little volume knob down here. Center console, this is a comfortable lid, nicely padded lid, wireless charging pad up front. This center console bin is actually a cool box, so you might be able to hear it. Yeah, that is essentially like a concentrated air conditioning that pumps in there, keep things a little colder. The seats themselves in this Overtrail trim, they're a little softer, a little deeper cushion. They have higher bolsters. The idea there is that you'll sink into them a little more. You won't jostle around quite as much when you get onto that uneven, not pavement out on the trail. In the back seat, I thought it was going to be a little tight when I just looked at it, but sitting back there, the seat backs for the front seats are nicely scalloped. There is plenty of headroom everywhere in this car. And in fact, the space for your feet also pretty generous. So I sat back there for about an hour earlier today when we were driving out to one of our shooting locations, and I didn't get uncomfortable. I didn't feel claustrophobic. So that is definitely a check in the positive column. Now, one of my favorite details of the Overtrail is this green suede insert on the seats. I think this looks really classy. It has like that woodland rugged motif sort of, you know, it's like, yeah, like this car is all about getting out on the trail. It's a little tougher than some of the other GX models. Now, the one downside for a lot of shoppers is that the Overtrail GX is only available with 2 rows. You can only fit 5 people in here. Other GXs, they can be equipped with a 3rd row that fits an extra 2 people for seating for a total of 7. Now, one thing you should know though is that 3rd row, that is really tight. You're only going to want to put the smallest of your friends or children in the way back. Also, if you have that 3rd row in place, cargo space shrinks dramatically. So the Overtrail models, they do give you a lot more base, cargo space than you get in those three-row models. Now, I think that we should take this one out on the trail, show you what it can do off-road, and then we're gonna get in a Luxury Plus trim, one of the real posh ones, very comfortable, see how that handles driving on-road. We'll talk about the tech, talk about the safety, then we'll wrap this video up. So keep watching, we have a lot to go through. The Overtrail and Overtrail Plus trims are meant to be the GX at its most off-road capable, at least in factory spec, because as we know from the GX's history, this is a popular off-roading car, and that means that there's always going to be a lot of aftermarket support. But if you want a GX that can do a hell of a lot of off-roading straight from the factory, the Overtrail or the Overtrail Plus, that's the one that you're going to want to buy. So on the outside, the first thing you're probably going to notice is the big 33-inch tires wrapping 18-inch wheels. The 20s come on the Premium and Premium Plus trims, and the Luxury and Luxury Plus trims, which are probably the least likely to see any real off-roading action, those come with 22s. Now, in addition to the smaller wheels and bigger tires, the GX gets 8.9 inches of ground clearance, which is surprisingly not as much as you can get in some like crossovers. I mean, a Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness, I think, will offer a little more ground clearance than that, but it's still more than you get in a normal GX, and I mean, it's more than you get in pretty much, not any, but a lot of other off-roading vehicles. maybe not a Jeep or like I said, some of those wilderness Subarus. Can't miss the mirrors. So they're pretty interesting mirrors. Instead of being wide and short like a typical aerodynamic wing mirror, these ones are kind of tight in next to the vehicle so they don't catch on anything like one of these cactuses that we're driving by. And they're tall enough that with proper adjustment, you can actually see a little bit of the roof line, which can be helpful. Again, usually depending on your terrain. Now, as we're slowing down here a little bit, I'm gonna take the time to talk about what's under the sheet metal, because that's really where the Overtrail and the Overtrail Plus start to stand out. First, we got to talk about the differentials, or the diffs, as the real off-roaders like to talk about them. So every GX gets a locking center differential, and that's kind of the bare minimum that you want to see in a absolutely, truly legit off-roader. You know, you have to have a locking center diff. The GX Overtrail and Overtrail Plus, they add a electronic locking rear differential. That'll split the power 50-50 to the rear wheels. So if one of them starts getting a little bit of traction and the other is losing some traction, you still have that forward progress. Now, in a similar concept, we have the electronic kinetic dynamic suspension system. I want to say that's right. We'll add a little correction if I said that wrong. Anyways, it's EKDSS, not the prettiest acronym, but a pretty interesting bit of technology. Essentially, the whole idea is that it's going to maintain traction and stability on-road and off-road. And it does that by allowing the GX to electronically detach its sway bars in the front and the rear so that you can get a little more wheel articulation. Again, so like if one wheel, starts to rise up and the other starts to drop down on the terrain, you don't end up in a situation where that wheel that's heading up towards the sky is actually losing contact with the ground. All told, this car has 25 inches of wheel articulation thanks to that KDSS system. So down here on the center console, we have nice physical buttons for the center locking diff, the rear locking diff, and then we have this toggle switch for 4-wheel drive high and 4-wheel drive low. We're in 4 low right now because we're cruising along on some dirt roads with a little bit of undulation to them, a little bit of rocks and ruts and whatnot. Frankly, we're probably a little overkill being in 4 low, but it means that I get to talk to you about the various drive modes that are associated with that. So there is an auto, a rock, a sand, and a mud setting, and if you put it in 4 high, you also get a deep snow setting. Beyond that, you have crawl control, you have hill descent control, and then we've got these great camera angles. So down here, the ignition button is up here. Down here is a button for your camera views, and they open up these great panoramic views on the screen. Didn't actually happen right there when I did it. I might be moving a little too fast, but they display panoramic views of not just the front of the car or the rear of the car, but also what's underneath the front of the car or underneath the rear of the car, and then what the view of each of the vehicle's sides is going to be. And like, there are some parts of an off-roading vehicle that are more practical, like you need to have nice squared off fenders like we have here, you need to have great sight lines, but things like great camera angles, it just makes off-roading so much easier, so much more confidence inspiring. A vehicle like the GX is really designed so that not only can it go incredibly far off the beaten path, but it means that you, even if you don't have a lot of off-roading experience, you can still feel confident getting off-road and stretching that comfort zone, doing some stuff, playing with cars in ways that you just can't do in a lot of other vehicles. The new 2024 Lexus GX 550 employs a 3.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine. That's in contrast to the old V8 engine that we knew and frankly loved in the GX 470. Now, even though it has 2 fewer cylinders, this GX makes a lot more power than the old GX. We're working with 349 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque, and all that torque is available very low in the rev range. So this pretty big car always feels like it has more to give when you step on the accelerator. It's managed by a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, the Tundra also uses a 10-speed automatic transmission, and this shares a platform with the Tundra. It's the GAF truck platform, but the Tundra's transmission is constantly shifting and hunting and trying and find the right gear, and this is a lot more assertive, a lot more confident. I don't feel like it's hunting nearly as much. You're going to find a multi-link rear suspension and a double wishbone front suspension under the sheet metal of most GX models. However, the one we are driving, the Luxury Plus trim and the Overtrails, they get a adaptive variable suspension. Now, in terms of steering feel, being an off-road oriented vehicle, it's not razor sharp. It's a little vaguer than, what you might be expecting, particularly when you're driving on road, but it's also not, offensively bad. It's a little vaguer, a little number than I might like. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that this has plenty of power on tap, and sure enough, right at tip-in, it does not take a whole lot to really get that engine roaring. Similarly, the brakes are very responsive. It's not a super hot day out. It's about in the 60s. This is honestly like kind of ideal temperature and weather to be testing a vehicle. So the brakes haven't really had a ton of opportunity to fade, but in regular driving, again, they're very confidence inspiring. It's a very linear pedal feel. Pretty happy with the brakes. And that was a nice little through the S's there. I'm very impressed by how this car doesn't lean nearly as much as the outgoing GX did. That one, going through the corners, it's like riding on a roller coaster, like one of those old wooden roller coasters. Oh, we got a cyclist and a car. Okay, there we go. Drive safely, everybody. So yeah, right at tip-in, no problem accelerating. And I actually kind of like the sound of this engine. It's got a little grunt to it. It's a Lexus, so it is definitely pretty quiet in here. There's frankly not nearly as much wind noise as I would have expected, given the really tall greenhouse and the blocky exterior design. Gosh, this is gorgeous. If only you could see it. You'll just have to take my word for it. So as we're gonna head down the mountainside on this side, yeah, we've got a tight one-lane road. We've got cars on our left. We've got a pretty sheer drop on our right, and it doesn't feel like we're driving a limp spaghetti at all. This thing is performing much better in the on-road portion, at least, than the outgoing Lexus GX 470, which I last tested a little over a year ago. Now, down the road, we are going to have a hybrid Lexus GX. This is Toyota Lexus we're talking about, so we feel pretty confident that that is at the very least going to be an efficient and reliable hybrid powertrain. And in my opinion, it's going to be pretty necessary because the Lexus GX that we're in today, not a fuel efficient vehicle. We're looking at 15 mpg city, 21 highway, 17 combined. In 2024, 17 combined feels a little thirsty to me. Now, maybe you disagree. Let us know in the comments. Given this vehicle's purpose, it's supposed to be an off-road capable, body-on-frame SUV, and it makes a ton of horsepower, so maybe high teens is admissible. Maybe that's something that just comes with the territory. Or maybe you, like me, think that we should be looking for at least 20 miles per gallon in combined driving from pretty much every vehicle on the road. 20 miles per gallon just to start. So again, let us know in the comments section below, and let's keep it civil. Don't want things getting too spicy. Now, the most impressive number that this car can offer, I guess that's arguable, but it feels impressive to me, is its towing capacity. The Lexus GX, the 2024 Lexus GX, it maxes out at over 9,000 pounds of towing capacity. Do you know how much 9,000 pounds is? Yes, we know it's just a little shy of the new Hummer EV, but other than that, what is it, a couple elephants? It's almost certainly more than that boat that we are all towing around. Those things with a trailer, not 9,000 pounds. This is gonna be totally fine, take care of anything you need to tow behind it. The GX gathered quite a few fans for what it could do off-road, but to be honest, if you're in a GX today, an older GX, and you're thinking about the new GX, its safety tech is arguably as significant an upgrade as anything under the hood or the suspension, any of those mechanical bits. And that's because the old GX, by the end of its run, it had gotten a few advanced driver assistance safety systems added on, but it was like Lexus was just like stapling them to the package, just trying to keep it competitive. Now, this new car has been engineered from the ground up and electrically engineered to support those advanced driver assistance systems from the start. Every one of these new Lexus GX models comes standard with Lexus Safety System Plus 3.0. And that means that things like adaptive cruise control with full stop and go capability, lane tracing assist, lane keeping assist, lane departure warning, automatic emergency braking, all of that stuff, it comes just from the factory in the package. You don't have to pay extra. And to put this into perspective, the last Lexus GX, it got Lexus Safety System 1.0. Now we're on 3.0. We skipped 2.0. Now, in terms of tech features, the 2024 Lexus GX is just not a step forward. It is a leap and a bound forward because the old GX was frankly a technological dinosaur, and this one looks and behaves like a modern luxury SUV. We have a 14-inch touchscreen. It looks great, it's bright, it's crisp. We're gonna come back to this shortly. We also have 6 USB-C ports in this test car. The 2-row Overtrail trims, those come with 4 USB ports. They're all USB-Cs. There's also a 120-volt wall-style power outlet in the trunk. That's great if you want to plug in some things while you're overlanding. We have a wireless charging pad for our phone. We've got wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay. The standard audio system is a 10-speaker premium stereo, but we have a 21-speaker Mark Levinson system. And then there is actually one of my favorite bits, this divided sky or dynamic sky panoramic roof. You hit this button and it goes clear, and this one, and it's opaque. I love that. It is one of the coolest features. All of your friends are gonna ooh and ah the first time they see that. Guaranteed. Stamp it. Now, let's talk about the touchscreen. So if there's one bone to pick, it's that Lexus has gone a little more subscription focused. Drive Connect manages the navigation system and some other things, but primarily manages navigation system. It's integrated with Google data, so you have those points of interest in there. And it also has a voice assistant. All you have to say is, "Hey Lexus," and it will answer your questions regarding navigation or changing the temperature or changing your station. Not sure why you would need to change the radio station. Just find that one that you really like. There's also another one, it's called Remote Connect. That allows you to adjust the climate controls or unlock, lock the vehicle. I think you can auto stop start it, and then you can do kind of like a vehicle health diagnostic all from your phone. So that's pretty handy. But again, both of those systems, they are subscription based. Now it is time to talk turkey. How much does the 2024 Lexus GX cost? Well, it starts at $64,250, but if you want the Overtrail Plus trim, and it costs $77,250. Those are MSRPs, and they are before any additional options that you might add to your GX. Now, speaking of options, Lexus knows that people who buy this car pretty often want to make it their own. They want to get into the aftermarket. They want to customize. And as such, Lexus has actually partnered with a number of aftermarket suppliers to offer those from the factory. That means you can get stuff from Yakima or Dometic or Prinsu, who make awesome roof racks. You can get all of that from a Lexus dealer. Lexus stamped with a part number. It's actually a pretty cool integration between the automaker and the aftermarket community. Now, let us know what you think about the 2024 Lexus GX in the comments section, and head over to CarGurus.com where you can read my full written review, you can check out all our photos, and when you're ready, you can shop for a Lexus GX. Thank you as always for watching, for subscribing, for sharing your feedback with us, sharing your thoughts with us. We love having you as an audience, and we'll see you next time.